All right, I almost didn't make this. Well, I almost put it off, I should say, but I got a DM on Instagram that was like, yeah, I'm waiting for the next pretend I'm your friend like a junkie. So that's cool. So maybe I got something here. I've also been reading this book, Atomic Habits. My friend recommended me it, and it's pretty good. It's about how to build good habits, and I've been working on a script every day, probably at most 30 minutes, but the book's all about getting 1% better every day. And one of the other things I've been doing is one joke a day, one sketch a day, and film or edit one video a day, which I've done for the past few days. So that's pretty cool. I'll tell you the joke I wrote yesterday. Let's see. I don't know if it's any good. Well, I mean, the whole point is that you don't need to be like, it doesn't need to be good, right? I think in the book, like, Seinfeld is like, yeah, I write a joke a day and I don't break the streak. Let's see. So the newest one was, let's see, one joke a day. I'm starting a nymphomaniac support group for hot women. I feel like they don't have a space to talk about how hard it is. We meet at my apartment. Haven't got any clients yet. If you think you fit the bill, hit me up. There's no real punchline. It's more of a premise. And obviously the joke is that I'm trying to get hot women in one room that are also addicted to sex. And my buddy was like, oh, maybe you should end it like, okay, that's not cool. I'm sorry. Because like, it's like, I guess, a very man-oriented joke. But, hey, I mean, that's part of it. I also made a philosopher video last week that bombed hard. But, you know, it's all about putting in the reps. I had a Socrates costume, and I was just more or less thinking about how it's funny that Socrates, like, I read that he used to, like, you know, he'd go to a party, but then, like, people would be like, where'd Socrates go? And he'd be, like, on the front lawn, like, barefoot, just, like, thinking. He would just go and think. Like, he'd just love to, like, just walk around and be like, huh, to himself. So I kind of thought that was funny, but, you know, the video, I guess the execution wasn't good, or maybe the premise wasn't good either, but it was, like, a modern-day philosopher. I also like how he said, like, one of the big things he says, which I think is cool, but he's like, I know that I know nothing, and, you know, it's like sort of it's just a cool quote, but, like, I just think it's funny that he's like, yeah, I don't know shit, and people are like, damn, he's, like, smart as hell, but, you know, kind of I mean, I don't know anything. I think it's funny how, like, you know, there's, like, certain conspiracies that I could never prove or deny. I don't believe them necessarily, but, like, so much of life is, like, you have to really trust. You have to trust that people are smarter than you and they're not lying to you. I guess that's a big part of society, right? Like, if you ask me why the earth isn't flat, I know that if you, like, go to, like, the Burj Khalifa and you take an elevator right when the sun sets, you go to the top and you can see the sun, you know, again. That's probably the most, I've never done that, but, like, I think that's the most evidence I know. But again, I know the earth is round. Well, I don't know, but I believe that the people that tell me that are telling the truth. I mean, somebody that made this computer, I have no idea how they made this computer. I couldn't even begin to fathom what to do even 1% of this. And the guy that did this, you know, those are the scientists are like, yeah, the earth is round. I'm like, yeah, the earth is round. If you're saying that, I don't know how to do anything. So that's basically the impetus for that video. Hawk Tuah, she put out a crypto coin, and I think it's just interesting to me that I think, like, there's a big sentiment, and I get it, but it's like, if you put money in, if you lost money on Hawk Tuah coin, it's your fault. And I get that. That's like the comment under every single video about her or about the coin. Right? Which is another, you know, that's another thing in itself, is that you see one joke on every single, like, piece of media about a story, which is, like, you know, a whole other thing. But I think when that is the sentiment, it kind of, like, enables people to scam you further, because it's like, oh, okay, like, the Rizzler sees that, he's like, oh, it's their fault for Haley scamming them? Okay, then I will scam, because it's apparently your fault if you fall for the Rizzler coin. So I'm just, you know, I get it. I do understand that, like, it probably is a lot of crypto bros hoping that they get in, you know, they rug pull faster, which I could see, you know, not blaming them. But overall, it's probably not the best idea to wholeheartedly just like victim blame these people because you want to keep some accountability. And I also have to imagine, I mean, is Haley like, why do these people think they should make a crypto to begin? Who's like, yes, I should have my own currency. I should invent a currency. I don't get the thought. I mean, the thought process has to be, hey, Haley, celebrities make cryptos and make money. You want to do that? And she's like, sure. I mean, I'm sure. I don't doubt that's the thought process. But like, it's just like, in reality, I guess not to turn around a victim blame, but it's like, why would you trust that she should have her own? Why should she have her own currency? She shouldn't. That said, I'm dropping Tuah Coin today. All right. Tuah Coin only on pump.fun. No, I'm not actually doing that. But I don't know that they think they're scamming their fans, but maybe they see it. It's in there. They compartmentalize it as like, oh, there's merch and there's my NFT and then I have my own dollar bill in case I ever buy a country. Hawk Coin will only work in Tuah Village. I don't know, but it is interesting to see. And then you see these. I think my biggest pet peeve right now with a lot of YouTube channels is like, there's like the commentary channels, but then there's like the podcast, like there's these guys that just like, it'll be a thumbnail like, he's finally over, and it'll be insert celebrity or comedian or YouTuber, but then every video and thumbnail after is the same guy. It's like, he's finished, he's done, nobody cares about him anymore. It's like, really? Because you got 1 million views on that video and you just made 1,000 more about the same guy. And then I saw one today. It was like they're breaking down the Hawk Tuah crypto, which is cool. I like, a nice breakdown. But the thumbnail it's Haley's Twitter, and it's like, CoffeeZilla lied about me. Like, they faked a tweet for the thumbnail. And it's like, at what point, people are like, oh, mainstream media, you can't lie to us anymore because we could be our own news source. It's like, it's almost worse because now you got individuals that realize I could just lie and get way more views than, the guy that's telling the truth or the mainstream media. At least with the mainstream media, and not to defend them either. I don't really know. Again, I don't know anything in the world, but at least with them, there's at least some checks and balances, I guess. I guess there is an individual at the top that can make them do whatever he wants, but I don't know. My point is that just like, and I don't know the solve for this, but it's just like, sometimes I will scroll through YouTube and get kind of pissed off at like thumbnails and certain commentary channels. It's like, he's finished, and then it's like their entire channel is devoted to one podcast, and it's just like breaking down every little. It's like, look at how his eye twitched when Shane Gillis spoke. Clearly they have a beef, and it's just like, okay, I don't know. I guess it's like TMZ, but on an individual level. Okay, there's that. I hope that they don't come for me now, but I just wanted to talk on that. I mean, I get 500 views a video, so it doesn't really matter. Nobody's going to care. I saw Paul McCartney, his Spotify bio is, of all the Beatles, of all the 4 Beatles, he's had the most successful solo career. And it's like, I mean, that's kind of unfair because John Lennon was literally shot to death. It's kind of an unfair metric or achievement to give him. I mean, hey, Paul McCartney, greatest living artist, no doubt. But, I mean, it's like, maybe don't compare him to the guys that died well before Paul ever did. I mean, John in 1980, and then what was like George was 2001. So it's kind of like, I mean, I guess George, they kind of reached a point where their solo careers were petering out, at least of the 3 of them. But that's what I saw, and I was just like, this is kind of strange. And John was the anniversary of his death was recently, which is pretty cool. You can go to the Dakota where he was shot in New York City, and it's pretty eerie to see because it's like a very creepy looking building as it is, and then you could just go to like, he was walking into his apartment and he got shot right in the front, like as he was walking in, and it's just like gargoyles and it's like a candle lit torch, and it's just creepy. So it's almost like you want to ask John Lennon, like, why did you think this was the good spot to live. Like, I feel like it's almost like don't go there. It's got a very eerie feel to it. Maybe choose something a little less foreboding. Does that make sense? Yeah, foreboding is a word. So, the CEO stuff. We'll talk about that. I'm just plowing through topics. I'm giving this guy his the guy that DM'd me said that he's withdrawing without my podcast. I don't think this is I don't know that this is addiction level content, but I'm happy to supply it. I hope that this really fills the void for him. But yeah, the CEO that got shot, I think the thing that was interesting about it was I was like, how would I find this guy? And everybody was like, he took a city bike, and I'm like, there's no way he took a city bike, because that shit is so like you have to use a phone to get it, unless he like planned on riding the city bike to another location once he got out of the Central Park in a new outfit. But they got him on the bike after. So city bike, he got an e-bike somewhere else. So first find that bike, figure out, the origin of that bike. That's one. What else did I say I would do to find this guy? Obviously the cameras. I was saying this from the jump, okay, before the detectives did it. So I think it would just be fun to be a detective. Obviously tragic in a lot of ways, but it's like just putting together clues, like, like when you when you need to like find somebody online and you're able to just like, well, they're wearing this college sweater, so I can cross-reference, but that with a national manhunt sort of guy would be sick. But yeah, I thought that was interesting. There's nothing I could say about it, I guess, that hasn't been said besides like just the fact that I guess how would I have escaped? I guess if I was him, I would have went to Central Park and then changed clothes but kept the mask on. He didn't change clothes, but he ended up riding out. So it's like, why'd you even go to Central Park? Maybe he had something there. He left his backpack, but did he get a new backpack? I don't know. Woody Allen had like an interesting quote, which was like, I can't rob banks, or I could rob a bank, so what I do is I write it instead. Basically, so I almost feel like that's the detective, is like, what would I do to get away with it? Now let's like let's what is that word? Not recalibrate. You reverse engineer the crime. That's what I would do. Yeah, I mean, I would even go like a month earlier in the cameras to be like, he must have been scoping the place out to know where the cameras were and how he could. So it's like there must have been a guy walking around like looking up at everything, although it's the city, so maybe they're always looking up. I'm realizing very fast that I would not be a good detective, maybe, but it's fun to pontificate on the podcast and say what I want about it. It is weird to see, actually, buddy at work said this, but I was like, oh, it's a little disturbing when a guy gets killed and everybody's like happy about it. And I understand the implications and the context and all that, but it's still like a disturbing thing. And he was like, yeah, it's like almost like back then people used to take somebody to, like we would, they'd steal bread and then we'd all go watch in the town square this guy that stole bread get killed, and everybody was like, yeah. And he was saying how the internet is almost like the modern version of that. But I think it's cool. You could always just turn off the internet and then recede back into a life where it doesn't feel that way. You could just talk to your mom and, well, she might have a similar opinion, but at least you can voice your concern to her and you won't get ratioed by her. You could get ratioed in real life, but it's not a number on a screen. It's like somebody else being like, nah, I agree. And that's a little less hurtful than like, just getting dogged on Twitter. That's my take. That's my take on that. I went to this event, this stand-up event, or I went to this event at The Stand. It was like a party. It was a Hulu event, and they had a photo op where you could take photos with a green microphone, and then they give it to you right on the spot. It's like a QR code you scan, and I scanned it, and it was a cool photo. So I was like, I'm going to post this to my story because there's a girl that is ghosting me at the moment, and I'm like, I bet I look good here. Might as well, drop a little bait in the water, see if anything bites. And I didn't realize, I guess the photo is made to somehow look like I got a Netflix or a Hulu special, a comedy special. So next thing I know, I'm getting 1,000 messages like, congrats, I knew you could do it. I didn't really believe in you, but this proved me wrong. And I'm like, okay. Well, actually, this is just a photo experience at an event. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes more sense. Yeah, you don't have what it takes. So I had to post a follow-up story like, yeah, just a goodie bag photo that we all get to, everybody had one that was there. Everybody got to do it. Here's a child with the same photo. So it's, I guess I could put it on my wall and use it to manifest a stand-up special down the line. Maybe the nymphomaniac joke from yesterday will find a home on Hulu, but as for right now, it was just a free photo to promote some specials that they will be putting out later in time that have nothing to do with me. In fact, they don't even know I was at that party. I was a +1 to somebody that was invited, and I got a solo photo, and they take a picture of your name on a whiteboard so they know who it was, and they emailed everybody the photos, and the girl that I was a +1 to, my friend Daniela, she got her photos, but not mine. So she gave me the email, and I emailed, and they have yet to send it back. So I didn't really even get the photo experience. I didn't really like the free, the goodie bag, the everyone gets one gift. I didn't even fall into that category. They were like, get away from us. We burned the photo. You want a stand-up special? You won't even get a promo code for 10% off Hulu like everybody. You won't even get a Hulu membership. We just deleted it. You asked us for the photo, we deleted your Hulu. Get away from us. So that was that. But I'll print that out and I'll put it on my wall, and it's something to look forward to one day, I suppose. Damn. I go through these pretty quick. I guess I could talk about the Kendrick album. I don't know, man. I like Kendrick. I like TV Off and Squabble Up, but yeah, I was like skipping through, and maybe it's because I don't always listen to lyrics, but sometimes I'm just like, couldn't really get into it. And sometimes Kendrick, he just like wears a thorny crown on stage, and he's like bleeding, and I'm like, is anybody like... It's just sort of like that artist, when those interviews with artists were like, yeah, well, I just draw upon experiences from my childhood, and I've always been like a lover of the arts. And it's just like, sometimes it feels like they're huffing their own fumes. I'm not saying Kendrick does that. Obviously, great artist, and he great poet. That's what rap is, right? It's poetry. But there is just times where I'm like, is it that deep? Is it that interesting? I mean, does he really, why is he wearing a thorny crown on stage? Equating himself to Jesus. But again, I don't really, it's hard for me to listen to lyrics a lot of the time. I really have to devote my full attention to remember to listen to lyrics. I'd be curious if you guys listen to lyrics. I think it's like, it's like half and half. A lot of people just listen to the music, like the melody, and they just kind of vibe to it. And then the other half actually listen to the lyrics. But I have to really focus and choose to listen to the lyrics. That's why I have this Beatles book. Sorry to always bring up the Beatles. That was my number one artist, of course, but on the Spotify Rap. But this song book, and it's it's a fun way to learn the Beatles songs. And that is really how so many of the lyrics I ended up actually hearing and understanding and actually taking in, because I chose to try and sing them horribly because I can't really get myself to sing well. I would love to be able to sing. I try. There's times where I'm like, that sounded good, and then there's a lot of times where I'm like, that did not sound good at all. But it's like Across the Universe. That's one of the best lyrics in the Beatles discography, in my humble opinion. Images of broken light which dance before me like a million eyes. They call me on across the universe. They're talking about the stars. I'm like, that's sick. Or what's the other one? Pools of sorrow, waves of joy are drifting through my open... No, where's the one that I really like? Limitless undying love, which shines around me like a million suns. It calls me on and on across the universe. The first time I like to play it and then try and sing it, and then that's like, whoa, the lyrics almost hit more when you were like playing it. That's why I recommend people learn instruments, because you really get to like dig into the song and get a new appreciation for it. But that's all to say, I wasn't really vibing with the Kendrick album, but I have to give it another shot, I guess. It's funny, the Mustard thing that went viral, I was kind of like, when I was listening to TV off, I was enjoying it, and then he goes, Mustard, and he yells it, and I'm like, ugh. And I turned it off. I was like, well, ruined the song for me in the moment. But then I'll hear it in like little memes and stuff, and I guess I'm like, oh, I can see why. You know, sometimes you got to hear a song a second or third time to really appreciate it as well. So it is possible I'm being a hater here. But that's kind of, that's like literally all the things I had. You know, Christmas is coming up. I got to buy, I had one more thing. So Grace O'Malley, she's a friend and a comedian, and she had a show. She has a show every week with Daniela. And a few weeks ago, there was a bunch of hot girls in the front row, and I did my set. I did pretty well. And then I told Daniela and Grace, because they go on later. They hosted, and then they bring me up, and then they will go on individually. And I was like, you guys got to go up there, and you got to wingman me. You got to say to them, like, oh, that comedian Sean, like, you should. And I was like, and I'm filming on this camera because basically I do the show every week because I film them, and then I get a spot. Good deal, because it's at the stand. And Daniela gets off stage, and she's like, no, I didn't really do it. I forgot, or I didn't care. I was like, whatever. And then I'm like, Grace, you got to do it. And I'm like kidding. But then Grace goes up, and evidently, I'll show the clip, but I guess I'll explain it first. But she did it, and the girl, she was like, who's interested? And somebody raised their hand. But the hard part is, so here's the thing. She comes out, she tells me she did it, and I'm like, that's sick. You're awesome. And then I'm nervous because now I know I'm going to probably have to speak to these women when they come out, and which is, in itself scary, because you just got to be ready. You got to be ready to say things and not be dumb and be charming and whatever. I'm debasing myself here, but it's true. Any man can empathize with that. But they come out, and it's like 5 chicks, and they're all talking to me, and I don't know who is into me, which is a great problem to have. I'm not trying to sound like ungrateful here, but that's my first notice. The first thing I notice is that I'm like, who? And I'm not good at like, I'm like, oh, well, this girl's really cute, but they're all talking to me, and I don't know how to be like, well, I'm interested in her, because I like feel bad somehow. I feel bad just like ignoring one of them, or all of them for one of them. But we end up staying at the stand till it closes. The manager, it was so cool. He's like locking the doors. I'm like, oh, we're getting out of here. He's like, you can hang out as long as you want. I wouldn't do this for anybody else. I'm like, okay. And they're like, oh, you must be like super popular here. Like, oh, and I'm like, yeah, no big deal. And then like they siphon off until it's only 2 of them. Very nice. We had fun. They're friendly, and I bought them drinks, and I'm like $150 in the hole. But I'm like, well, this girl's super cute, so worth it. We end up going back to their apartment because they live together, and they have a cat. And I'm like petting the cat, and I'm like, still, I feel as though I'm flirting. It felt like we were a little touchy at first, but then she did like sit further away. But I'm like, oh no, but it's still. And then at one point, they're like, oh, our other friend who's not here anymore was the one that liked you. I'm like, oh, and she was like, yeah, we don't want to steal you from her. And I said to the one, I'm like, you can steal me. And then they laughed and stuff, and then I get her number. She puts it in my phone as like, so-and-so from the stand, very cool girl. Like, that's the full name. And then she's like, you got to add me on Letterboxd or whatever. And then I go home. I'm texting her, and I send her a photo of my cat. And I'm like, this is a real cat. And she's like, haha, our cat should go on a date. And I'm like, we should go on a date first is what I said, or something like that. Or, I said it much better, framed it much better. And her response was, I have a boyfriend.
I gotta get this off my chest. I'm just talking to the girls in the front row. You guys remember the first comedian, Sean? Yes. He said, I'm recording this right now and you better really help me out and ask if those ladies are interested. So I'm doing my boy a favor. Who's interested? All right. Sean, that's called taking one for the team. Click that. Have fun with it. I almost got him laid at this show last week. So ladies, if you're interested, give it up for Sean Malay.
I don't know why that was the credit, but she did it. She tried. One of the girls, we stayed out till 4 a.m. and $150 later, we both have a cat. And she was like, our cat should go on a date. And I was like, well, we should. I'm very smooth. She responded, I have a boyfriend. And then she was like, but did I ruin Monkey's chances? Which is the name of her cat. But she almost got me laid. Yeah.
And then she was like, but did I just ruin Monkey's chances? You saw it in the clip, I guess. I put it before this. But I'm just like, what? Like that. And so, thank you, Grace, for trying. Obviously, I went for the wrong one. The one that liked me was telling me she liked a different comedian. She was explaining to me, very drunk, how she likes this other. And I'm like, yeah, I know him. I'll try and hook it up. So I'm like, by process of elimination, I'm like, okay, she's not the one. She's not the one because she said she had a boyfriend. She left early, so she's not the one. Must be this one. But no, it was the one that was telling me she liked a different guy. And this other girl had a boyfriend. And yeah, I mean, I don't get it. I don't know. She had a boyfriend. If I was him, I would have, not been stoked on how she was talking to me or that she gave the number and told me to add her on Letterboxd and our cat should go on a date. But who am I? I mean, girls are allowed to flirt, I guess. And now that I guess, I'm not weighing in on this. I'm just saying this is what happened. And I was rug pulled, similar to the Tuah Coin clientele. I was rug pulled romantically, so... Well, that's kind of it. I was going to, I don't know, I've been learning this song on guitar, and I'm going to fucking add it to the end because I have nowhere to show it. I spend way too much time learning music and trying to do music. Maybe I should do a comedy song or something. I should try one. I don't know. I've tried in the past. But, I'm going to do it. It's called Rag Pickin'. I didn't finish it yet. I'm only, halfway through, but I'm going to show part of it because I think it's cool. And then I'm going to end this. And I hope you think it's cool. Okay. Okay, well, that was very much not great, but I'm gonna use that, and then I'll keep practicing. Definitely a lot of errors in there, and maybe I'll link the guy that I saw on YouTube randomly. He had 20,000 views, but I was like, this is sick, and that's why I learned it. And my hand hurts, and that's why I'll continue to learn it and all that. So thanks for watching, and yeah, no more withdrawals, at least for today. See ya.